Hello everyone, this week we'll talk about anger. Let's start with defining it. It's a basic human emotion, as you already know, and it is experienced by all of the people. There's no one who doesn't experience any anger. And it's typically triggered by an emotional hurt, and it's usually experienced as an unpleasant feeling that occurs when you think you have been injured, mistreated, opposed in your long-held views, or when you are faced with obstacles that keep you from attaining personal goals. Okay. We say that anger is experienced by all people, but you will see in your sessions, if you do counseling, that there will be some clients whom are never able to define and express their anger. And they will say that I don't have anger. I don't feel any anger in my body, or generally in some specific situations, I don't have anger, they will say. But you should know that this emotion exists in everyone. Just those people whom state that they don't have any anger or they don't show their anger out, mostly will reflect those suppressed anger somewhere in their lives, and it is your duty, or in a collaborative relationship with your client, it's both your and client's duty to explore that part. Where is that anger? Okay, why does that person have difficulty feeling, defining, and expressing that feeling? This is an important part in counseling. And we always mix in the literature and in our daily lives the words anger and aggression, but there is a difference between anger and aggression. Anger is an emotion and it's okay to be angry, but aggression is a form of acting, is a form of expressing the anger out inappropriately, and we don't approve it generally. Aggression is the main component of aggressive behavior and acts of violence, and aggression is usually the result of excited emotional states of anger and frustration. As an emotion, as we stated, anger is not a problem, but what one does with anger is important, and people who do not know constructive ways to express their anger and frustration frequently become aggressive to express their feelings. Şimdi arkadaşlar, burada şöyle bir şey var. Alan yazımında, terapi dünyasında özellikle. Belki Türkçenin genel kaynağıyla ilgilidir. Bizde de hani anger ve agresyon, hani kızgınlık, öfke ve agresyon ya. Bizim dilimizde de tabii ne yapıyoruz? Öfke, kızgınlık ve agresyon olarak kullanıyoruz. Şöyle ki, bazı terapötik yaklaşımlar hani şöyle ifade edebilirler. Yani agresyon aslında hayatta gereklidir. Çünkü agresyon hani öfkenin biraz böyle hareket bulmuş hali ya. Bazı terapötik yaklaşımlar agresyonun kişiyi hayatta harekete geçirebilmesi. Çünkü bu agresyon kelimesinin kökeni agreda. Bu içeriye nüfuz etmek anlamında kullanılıyor ve aktif olmak, yaşamda harekete geçmek, bunlarla özdeşleştiriliyor. Sanki hani bu kelimelerin kullanımı Türkçe'de tam tersi gibi. Öfkeli olmak değil, hani kızgın olmak tamam deriz. Öfke asıl hani sanki böyle şiddetli olan ve zarar verme potansiyeli olan gibidir. Agresyonda harekete geçmek için gerekli olan bir parça öfkenin yaşamda vuku bulmuş hali, yaşamda hal bulmuş versiyonu gibidir. O yüzden kullanımlarımız Türkçe'de biraz farklılaşabiliyor. Belki buna dikkat etmek istersiniz. Let's go on with the causes of anger. A common cause for anger is the prevention or incompletion of attaining your goals and desires. And since humans certainly have numerous and different goals and desires in their lives, anger can easily erupt at any place and time. Of course, you can guess here that this is associated with egocentrism as well. If the things that you want to happen don't happen, then you get angry. This means that you want the world to turn around you, and when it doesn't, you are getting angry. And it's very common for people to feel frustrated and angry at the same time, because both emotions are the results of their inability to achieve their objectives. And in such situations, those people go and attack people. They blame others for the things that haven't happened to them. um, you will have these clients, okay? They will come to you with lots of anger to life, to other people, etc. And of course, your interventions will be based on your theoretical approach you are following. If you are following an existential approach, then you will say that, okay, you are free to choose for yourself. Nobody is responsible for what's coming to you, but you are responsible for what's happening in your life, and you chose something and you should take the responsibilities for what you have chosen. Or sometimes if a client comes with everybody is very bad, of course, they are responsible for what happened to me, and nobody helps me in the things that I desire to happen in this life. And in this regard, if you are utilizing from CBT approach, of course, you will work with these negative and automatic and mostly irrational thoughts, okay, in order to alter the feeling, in order to alter this emotion of anger into a more adaptive way. And why do we get angry? Anger is often associated with frustration. We had stated this before. And it's usually linked with other negative emotions as well. And remember, sadness was accompanied by different feelings like fear and anger. Of course, to this here, anger will be accompanied by sadness and fear most of the time. You may be feeling hurt, frightened, disappointed, worried, embarrassed, or frustrated. And you may express these sorts of feelings as anger out, okay? And anger can also result from misunderstandings or poor communication between people, and also grief, rudeness, tiredness, hunger, pain, withdrawal from drugs or some medications, physical conditions like premenstrual syndrome, physical illness, mental illness, alcohol, drugs, injustice, being bullied, being humiliated, embarrassment, deadlines, etc. You can read. This can also make people angry. When we check out the nature of anger, we see that there is this point of view of ABCs of anger. A corresponds to an antecedent or anger trigger, which means the stimuli which is triggering the anger response. B corresponds to the behavior, which is the reaction provoked by the anger. And C is the consequence, what happened as a result of controlling or not controlling one's anger. So firstly, what we are going to do is to check out what stimulated the anger response. Was it the traffic jam or anything else? Then did the driver shout at the other drivers as a result of the traffic jam? And as a result, was he then able to regulate his anger and slow down, or did he fight with other drivers as a result of this triggerness? These are important steps to follow in order to understand the nature of anger. And there are some types of anger, as you see, 12 types of anger. And these are important to notice and to consider, okay? Let's start with behavioral anger. This type of anger is comprised of aggressive and cruel actions, okay? And it mostly inclines on the physical aspect. It usually implies an attack towards the subject of the anger, usually a person. It's expressed through physical attack and defiance, okay? Like this is physical violence. And verbal anger. This type of anger merely uses words but doesn't use actions. It's expressed mostly by openly speaking insulting words and hurtful criticisms. Accusing someone of a crime or of a wrongdoing is also an example of verbal anger. Now I will quickly read the definition of these types of anger, and afterwards I will mention how you will utilize from these types of anger in special counseling. Passive anger. We see this in most of the people around us. It's shown mostly through mockery or through avoiding a certain instance. People who are displaying this type of anger are not showing their anger outright, but are devising covert ways of expressing it, and they don't confront a situation or a person who triggers the anger. Okay, the other one is self-inflicted anger. We also see this a lot in lots of people around us. This type of anger is the one that is directed towards a person's own body. For example, these people convert their attention to their bodies in order to punish themselves for the things they have done wrongly, okay? So they convert their anger inwards, not externally express them. And mostly these type of people tend to starve themselves or eat too much. And chronic anger, this is habitual, and people with chronic anger are just angry in general. You can label and define these people as angry, okay? This is too much frequent that you see them angry. They are angry with their lives, they are angry with themselves, they are angry with the people around them and the whole world in general. And they generally don't have a specific reason for their anger beyond this. The other one is judgmental anger. This type of anger would lead someone to hurtfully shame the people around him, like his family, friends, and neighbors. He expresses his anger by putting others down and belittling their abilities as a person. We see this type of people in Turkey a lot. Overwhelmed anger. This type of anger is seen on people that hate the situations happening around them that directly affect their lives. They usually shout or lash out at someone or something easily. They do it so because that's their way of relieving the stress and the pain they are feeling. Other one is constructive anger. This type of anger is the type that makes people want to go out and join groups and movements. And they usually do it because they wanted to do something to correct the situation. And the other one is volatile anger, and this type is the one that easily comes and goes. The magnitude of this anger varies too. It could build into rage, or it could be mild, sudden anger. It could explode abruptly, or it could go unseen. And the other one is retaliatory. I'm not able to read. Retaliatory anger, and it's the most common one. Usually people get angry because other people are angry at them, and this anger depends mainly on the other person. If your anger is due to a person lashing out at you, then you are guilty of this type of anger. And paranoid anger. This anger arises if a person feels in an irrational way that they are intimidated by others. People with this type of anger feel and think that other people wanted to take what is rightfully theirs, and they are angry toward that person because For one, they are jealous. And lastly, we have deliberate anger. And this type of anger is shown by people who would like to gain control over a situation. They are mostly not angry at first, but they will be once you have shown that you are against what they have planned and what they would like to happen, and they use anger to gain power over somebody or something. Şimdi arkadaşlar, danışmanlık seanslarında tabii ki çalıştığınız yaklaşım, çalıştığınız grupla çok alakalı olmakla beraber öfke problemiyle bazen çok fazla danışan gelebiliyor. Kimleri kabul ettiğinizle alakalı. Benim özellikle erkek çok fazla öfke problemiyle gelen danışanım oldu. Ve tüm bu kişiler aslında kendi başlarına terapiye gelmek üzerine bir motivasyona sahip kişiler değillerdi. Genelde ya kız arkadaşları vardı ya da evlilerdi ve kız arkadaşlarının ya da eşlerinin boşanmamak ya da ilişkiden çıkmamak için ön şartları, sen bu öfkenle ilgili destek almazsan ben senden ayrılacağım. Yani bu ilişkide kalmamın tek şartı senin gidip destek alman oluyordu. Yoksa yani bu bana gelen danışanlarla alakalıdır. Belki farklı tipler de var olabilir. Gerçekten kendi durumunun ve öfkesiyle olan ilişkisinin, öfke tipinin yaşamla uyumunu bozduğunu düşünen bilinçte ve farkındalıktaki kişiler kendi tercihleriyle de tabii ki terapiye başlayabilirler ama yoğunlukla ilişkisel olarak öfkelerinin ve öfke tiplerinin olumsuz bir etkisi olan kişiler ve belirli bir şekilde ilişkide oldukları kişiden aldıkları baskı ve şartla geliyorlardı. Şimdi böyle genel olarak baktığımızda arkadaşlar, şöyle yukarıdan tekrar geleyim. Şimdi baktığınızda behavioral anger özellikle hani fiziksel şiddet eğilimi gösteren kişilerde aktif olarak gördüğümüz öfke çeşitlerinden biri. Çünkü ne oluyor? Öfke taşıyor ve davranışı olarak vuku buluyor. Ama bu davranış kimi bağlar? İlişkide olduğu kişiyi bağlar ve ya eşyaların etrafa saçılıp dağıtılıp işte kırılması, fırlatılması üzerine ya da bir kişiye fiziksel zarar vermek üzerine ilerliyor. Böyle danışanlarınız gelecek size. Bunları tanımlayabilmek, öfkenin tipi, tarzı, sıklığı ve kime yöneltildiğini tespit etmek seanslarda önemli. Şimdi sözel olarak agresyon gösteren, öfke gösteren insanların da çok sık da olduğunu biliyoruz. Derler ya arkadaşlar, ben laflarımla, kelimelerimle döverim diye. Çok sert giderler. Ama ve daha çok narsist kişilik bozukluğu, narsist kişilik özellikleri gösteren kişiler eğer sözel alanlarına yatırım yaptılarsa ve o alanı aktif kullanıyorlarsa o kişilerde sıklıkla görürsünüz. Hiç istiflerini bozmadan sözel olarak gerçekten çok yıkıcı bir dille öfkelerini dışarı çıkarabilirler. Şimdi pasif öfke ya da pasif agresyon bizim en sık gördüklerimizden biri. Öfkeyle kişi karşısındaki kişiye ama asla o öfkeyi ona yansıtmıyor. Sanki yokmuş gibi yapıyor. Sinir olduğu bir şey var. Tıpkı bakın şimdi yap. Evet tabii ki yapıyor mesela. Hak verir gibi yapıyor ama inanılmaz agresif. Ağız hareketinden, bakış açısından anlarsınız. Çok sık bir grup bu. Direkt olarak öfkesini tanımlayıp yönlendirmez ama içerideki öfke bir türlü durdurak tanımadığı için böyle pasif olarak, alttan laflar sokarak, ondan sonra üstü kapalı mesajlar göndererek pasif agresyon kendini dışarıda hayata geçirir. Özellikle yeme bozukluğu olan kişilerde self-inflicted, kişinin kendine döndürdüğü öfkeye çok dikkat etmeniz lazım. Yeme bozukluğu alanında bir danışanınız geldi. Zaten yetkinliğiniz yoksa almayacaksınız da danışanı. Belki de önceden aldığınız bir eğitim ama hiç böyle öfkeyle ilişkisi üzerine bir geri bildirim, bir bilgiye ulaşmadı size. Bilin ki kişi eğer öfkesini tanımlayamayan, dışarıya etkili bir şekilde yönlendiremeyen, daha çok pasif agresif takılan, ondan sonra sağlıklı öfke düzenlemesi yapamayan bir kişi ise yaptığı şeyler için kendini cezalandırma eğilimindedir ve bu yemek üzerinden ya kendini aç bırakma ya da gerçekten artık midesini acıtacak kadar fazla yemek, saldırarak yemek üzerinden yansıma bulabilir. O yüzden özellikle yeme bozukluğu olan kişilerin öfkeyle ilişkileri, öfke tipleri üzerine çalışıp oraları keşfetmekte faydalı olabilir. Bazı kişiler hep böyle sinirlidir. Yani hani durumsal değil de sürekli öfke diyoruz biz buna. Bu çok şaşırdığımız bir şey değil. Hani o kişileri sakinleştirmek için yöntemler bulacağız. O yöntemleri öğreteceğiz. Yargılayanlar bunlar biraz daha az sıklıkla karşılaştığımız grup. Diğerleri daha çok geldiği için daha çok seansta karşılaşabileceklerinize vurgu yapmak istedim. Okay. Okay. Generally, those were the most frequent types of anger our clients come to the sessions with. But of course, for the other types of anger, please be aware that anger is categorized under 12 types, and yes, people are differentiated in terms of their anger types. Okay. And inevitably, of course, anger will have some effects on our physical, emotional, and behavioral dimensions. When we are angry, our heart rate increases, we run short of our breath, and there will be some sensation of chest tightness, there will be headache, facial flushing, or emotional we will feel suspicious, sad, we will lose our focus, we will lose our creativity, etc. And behaviorally, it may lead to procrastination, aggression, self-isolation, etc. Şimdi arkadaşlar, fizyolojik olarak öfkeyle ilgili önemli bir şey var bilmeniz gereken. O da şu. Biz özellikle çift seanslarında, çift terapisinde danışanlarımıza nabız ölçer takıyoruz. Ya da öfke problemi yaşayan çiftler ve bundan kaynaklı sorunları olan çiftler için eve sürekli ses de çıkaran bir nabız ölçer ya da bir saat takmalarını istiyoruz. Nabız 90 öfke anında tabii ki nabzımız çok yükseliyor. Ve bu nabız 90'ın üstüne çıkmaya başladığında arkadaşlar bizim problem çözme becerilerimiz duruyor. Beynimizin arka tarafından pıt kesiliyor. Şimdi öncelikle hafızamız, sonra da problem çözme becerimiz. O yüzden mesela çok öfkelenip tartışan çiftler durulduktan sonra ikinci bir tartışma daha yaşayabilirler ve bundaki tartışma şudur. Sen bana bunu söyledin der çiftlerden biri. Öbürü de der ki hayır ben sana onu söylemedim, asıl sen bana bunu söyledin. İkisinin de hatırladığı şey birbirinden farklıdır. Bunun sebebi nabız 90'ın üzerine çıktı. Ve beynin hafıza ve problem çözme alanları kapandı, tıkandı ve haliyle nabız 90'ın üstüne çıktıktan sonra olan şeyler hatırlanamaz ve içinde bulunan çatışma durumunda problemler çözülemez hale gelir. O yüzden birçok çift sonrasında olan şeyleri yanlış hatırladıkları ya da hatırlamadıkları için ikinci bir tartışma yaşayabilir ya da başka bir çözümsüzlük içerisine sürüklenebilirler. Biz o yüzden böyle nabız ölçer takmalarını, özellikle de böyle nabız 90'ın üzerine çıktığında sinyal veren düt düt düt diye bazı uyarılı nabız ölçerler var. Yoğun öfke problemi yaşayan çiftler için bunları sürekli takmalarını istiyoruz ki ses çıktığında önce kişinin kendisi şunun farkına varsın. Tamam, nabzım 90'ın üstüne çıktı ve bundan sonra karşımdaki kişiyle aramdaki tartışmada hiçbir yere varamayacağım. Bu sinyal aynı zamanda karşıdaki kişiye de sinyal veriyor. Diyor ki bunun nabzı 90'ın üstüne çıktı. O zaman bundan sonra buradan ne bir hafıza, ne bir anı, ne bir problem çözme, hiçbir şey bekleyemem. Ben en iyisi buradan uzaklaşayım. Hiçbir yere bu andan sonra varamam artık diyor. Uzaklaşıyor. İnşallah onunki 90'ın üstüne çıkmamıştır. Çıktıysa backuplayıp ikisi de uzaklaşmalılar. Böyle stratejileri öğretiyoruz. Sizin de bilginiz olsun. Okay. Anger may have some positive impact. It increases our energy. It's for sure. And it sometimes enables to communicate our feelings that we suppress. Sometimes, if it doesn't exceed the limit, it may involve us in action taking, and it may lead us to solve our problems. But of course, as I've said, we have a limit for it. And as you can see, these are the negative effects of anger. Of course, anger can make you ill because it releases stress hormones such as adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol. The heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, and breathing rate increase, and regular episodes of anger, of course, can eventually make people angry. Okay, if you feel anger very intensely, very frequently, and express inappropriately, of course, anger will become a problem afterwards. Because at that point, this means that you are not able to control and regulate your anger, but anger controls you. This is valid for all emotions. We shouldn't be controlled by our emotions, but we should be able to regulate them. Okay? Okay, why do we need to manage anger? Actually, instead of manage, it's better to use the word regulate maybe. And as you see, anger is not usually a good solution to problems. And unmanaged anger can create some problems. And especially if you have some problems with down-regulating your high levels of anger, then you most probably, as I've mentioned before, you will have some personal relationship problems or problems at work. Maybe you will engage in verbal or physical fights. So it will disrupt your relationship with your life actually, okay? Your healthy relationship with your life. Therefore, we need to manage our anger. And anger management is about understanding our anger and why it happens. Again, it's the same issue as we had talked in sadness as well. You should be able to define your feeling, the motivation, maybe the antecedent of your anger, and afterward, you need to regulate it. So in this regard, actually anger management is about learning and practicing better ways of expressing anger and knowing how to prevent it from occurring in the first place. Okay? Specifically, it's about knowing the triggers and early warning signs of anger, and learning techniques to calm down and manage the situation before it gets out of control. Okay, and in this regard, Professor Richard Nelson has proposed a structure called Cutsier. Okay, C accounts for confront, U understand, D define as search, A agree, and I implement, and R review. This can be applied to any problem that makes you angry, and according to this approach, this specification, the problem is first confronted and afterwards understood and defined. And afterwards, solutions for the problem are searched, and then the most difficult part of agreeing on certain solutions is done, and the solutions are implemented and most importantly reviewed. Here you can see step by step the stages of Cutsier. Okay, to go on with anger management strategy is taking a deep breath and counting till 50 is good, but also an easier way is to even at least count till 10. Okay, or count back from 10, but 50 is also okay. Drinking water is a good way of managing your anger. Thinking of a person who makes you smile may be a good way of anger management. Listening to music, talking to yourself, reading something, making an anthem, and stepping out and just taking some time alone, staying cool is important. Practicing yoga for long-term solution in terms of managing anger is a really good technique. It's the very best way to control your emotions. And overall, you will see that if you get involved in a collaborative relationship with your clients, sometimes your clients will discover lots of different ways to manage their anger, even out of the scope of your thinking. So give them the right and trust them to provide their own anger management solutions as well, because you can't imagine how creative they can be in such situations. And overall, we talked about anger and how to manage it, and its different uses and its different types in terms of how people express their anger. Thank you. You don't have any question to answer for this week's presentation. Best. Bye bye.